So welcome everyone. But if you don't know Jake, I think I recall seeing, because we're purely DTC-ish focused, and a lot of our brands on Saral focus on Instagram and TikTok. That is pretty much my world. But then I saw this guy on LinkedIn a few months back just talking about YouTube creators, and I'm like, who's this Jake person? Then I found out Jake. I followed him. I followed Channel Crawler. Looks like they're doing some interesting stuff around YouTube discovery and so on. So I reached out to him, and he was able to share some amazing insights with me, specifically about YouTube campaigns, because we don't do it a lot. So I got to learn a lot on my conversation with him. I was like, Jake, we have to do an influencer marketing show together. So here we are. We're finally making it happen. So I'm glad that this is happening. Jake, welcome to the show.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having me as well. I'd say we're probably well complemented opposites then, because my whole world is YouTube. So Channel Crawler, we're a YouTuber channel discovery tool, and so we help people find YouTube channels and then reach out to them. So very simple. Get on, find somebody, and reach out to them. And so all the people we work with are trying to do a YouTube campaign of some kind, and so. The other added bonus or bias in there as well is I'll say it from the start. I am like a YouTube community person. Like I watch a lot of YouTube. I get right into the depths of it. It's the main thing that I have on the TV as well. So not just in my work, but also a big fan of the platform as well.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Well, you're living and breathing YouTube, so perfect person to come on and talk about YouTube influencers. Awesome. Why don't we start? We're 5 minutes in. I think most people have joined, still some coming in. So we have 42 people live with us, so that's great. So Jake, why don't we start with why? I like always starting with the why question. So tell me why. We'll dive into the tactics and so on, but why should a brand that's, let's say, currently that's watching right now, currently doing a lot of Instagram and TikTok, why should they focus on YouTube, and why should they go work with a YouTube creator?
Yeah, for sure. So there was a stat that we were talking through just before we came on camera, and we were saying that in your search platform, that is it about 80% of the searches
Yeah,
are done Instagram,
correct.
10% TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah,
So I think that rings true of how a lot of influencer marketing is done. It's Instagram first, and then maybe TikTok, and possibly way down the road, then people might start thinking of YouTube. But actually, YouTube is the number one streaming platform in the US. So more people are watching YouTube than Netflix, and you can be highly targeted with those adverts as well. It's also now got over 1 billion monthly users watching podcasts on there as well. So when you sponsor a YouTube channel, you can also be sponsoring a podcast at the same time. And when you not only can sponsor influencers there, but also run your advertisements, that is awesome. And then there's obviously my bias is that I think that it builds the strongest communities. And with that, I just want to share a moment that happened in cinemas over these last past coming weeks with the chicken jockey moment in the Minecraft film. So do indulge me for one moment on this. I'm going to share a few
right.
things as we go. But this is the pandemonium that was created in the cinema.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
This is the kind of madness that's happening in cinema all over the US, all over Australia, and elsewhere too. And the fact that through this Minecraft moment, people had talked about this in communities, they'd seen it on YouTube, they'd seen this really exciting moment, and then suddenly pandemonium is happening in the cinemas. And Minecraft has lots of places that it activates, but the true core of it, of where it's been built, is the fact of people watching walkthroughs, strategizing, and really building this community around it. Then has then led to this viral moment, many years down the line. And yeah, it just made me smile quite a lot when I saw it.
Love it. Awesome. I think that's a great example. So okay, so let's just say somebody wants to do YouTube influencers. They're bought into the idea, and they're already working with TikTokers and Instagrammers. What what do they have to change in their strategy, or add to their strategy? Because YouTube creators are different, right? The format of the video is different, so I assume the pricing is going to be different, the offer is going to be different. I assume affiliate is not, because on Instagram and TikTok, the affiliate model works really well. I assume maybe not so much on YouTube. But you tell us, like, if somebody's looking at this, they're like, okay, great. I like this. I like these viral moments. I like the concept of YouTube. Why should I, what should I change in my strategy, in my offer, in the types of creators I reach out to? What's the best way to get started with YouTube?
Yeah. Okay. So we can take them as separate things in
Yeah.
terms of the budgeting and then your approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
So probably bad timing that I've showed you a viral moment there, because whilst there can be viral moments on YouTube, you're probably more likely to find them on an Instagram or TikTok. It's naturally where we see the scroll, we share it on phones, on WhatsApps, and that generally tends to lean in more where we would share that viral moment. But that is a challenge when we have influencer marketing, right? That when we go on Instagram and on TikTok, we're constantly seeding into there because it doesn't stick around for very long, in the feeds and in the scroll, that when you actually activate through an influencer, that you're trying to get as many views and eyeballs on it in that moment for a particular campaign. Maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's a launch, something like that. And they are great for those moments. But you then have to keep that wheel turning all of the time, keep going and going and going. And YouTube is a very different animal to that, because when you first launch with an influencer on YouTube, you're not going to get the same reach that YouTuber might get on Twitter or Instagram and TikTok in the same day. Because if you think about it, to watch a YouTube short or a TikTok or a reel or anything like that, it takes a much shorter amount of time. So the time for the views to catch up on YouTube, and when I'm talking about this, I talk specifically about long form content, is that you've got to give the chance for people to find it, and that comes in a number of different ways, right? So you might actually search for something specific on YouTube. How do I do this type of entertainment that you're trying to do? And so that can be on Google, it can be on YouTube itself. It might be that YouTube recommends it to you based on your watching habits, or it might be that you've been directed there from another site, like go and watch this YouTube video. So there's a number of different ways that you can be found. And it's important when you're working with that creator to think, okay, first of all, this is going to build over a longer period of time. How are people finding this creator? And therefore, how do we want to activate through them? And the key question in that as well is also, where do people watch this creator? So there are specific people that I might watch on the TV versus on the desktop versus on the mobile. And the creator will have different data to show that, like where people are watching, how long people have watched for, etc. And that piece that you're talking about in terms of how you activate differently, you're then starting to think, okay, if it takes a while to get those views, like what do I want to happen? And this is where I think brand building is really, really productive on YouTube. So I would personally always advocate for a 3 to 5 video integration. They don't always have to be in a row to start off with. And essentially you're trying to build that story around it. So whatever your product is, so say it's something to do with pets, it might like just feature in the first one, maybe it's a new leash, and that it's walking along with the creator and they see it in the integration saying, just you trying out this, it's really great. And then moving along into it back, like 2-3 videos later, there might actually be a full product review as people have had a time to get into it and to see it. And then you might feature it a couple more times, and people who are in that creators community and really feeling a strong vibe with them are going to go, okay, like this is, I have a pet, I have a leash, this is something that I want to try. And so you're really trying to build that story and brand over time. But the nice part is it's not just the people watching that are associated with that creator and like that content. It's also people that might be coming directly to try and find product reviews or things that can help them with a certain type of problem that your brand or your product can actually go in and solve. So that's that side. I'll just pause there for a moment in case there's anything we wanted to dive into deeper on that, and then we can go slightly more into the budgeting side of it.
Yeah, how do you, because the first question that comes to my mind, and I'm sure a lot of brands here are also thinking of that, is it seems like what you're saying is it's going to take, because if I'm like an Instagram or TikTok purist and I'm used to that world, I'm going to think, hey, Instagram, I can do affiliate. I don't have to pay them. I just send them a free product. It works. They post. We get a lot of views. We potentially go viral. It's great. Versus on YouTube, what Jake's telling me is it might take a long time to get the same number of views. You might not even get the same virality that you get on Instagram and TikTok. Plus, they're not probably going to accept an affiliate deal. You're probably going to have to do like a 3 to 5 video combo deal, pay up front for it, or it's like a paid collaboration instead of an affiliate collaboration. So it sounds like a bad deal. What right? In the head of somebody who's just used to Instagram and TikTok. I know it's not truly. So what do you say to that? Like what about YouTube makes it good enough that it's worth waiting that extra time to get those views? It's worth that upfront investment on getting those people to post about you and so on. Can you talk a little bit and address some of those like common objections, let's just say?
Yeah, for sure. So with all influencer marketing, you'll have a goal that you're starting off with, right? Are you brand building? Are you trying to drive conversions? Is it a product launch? Whatever it may be. And YouTube will be no different into how you're going to have a certain set of goals and things that you want to do and create through that. But I mean, one of the examples that we can come on to talk about is AG1, Athletic Greens, changed their name over the years, but their company is now worth over 1.2 billion. And the main place that they did influencer marketing is on YouTube. They leaned really, really heavily into it. And the reason that they did that is because they have a product that does have potentially quite a wide market fit. Is in it's something for the body. It makes you feel good, and you drink it and you feel better. It's great for their probiotics and all of that different stuff, right? But if you can speak to everybody, then how do you speak to anybody? How do you make this like specific to you? And so there's some good examples that I'll just share my screen again on here and walk through, right? So because I use these as an example because they are just one of the most successful. It's like really groundbreaking in terms of what they've been able to do, right? So if I just share on that. So we see on here, AG1, they're happy to make you feel healthy, etc., etc., etc. When you go onto their program, they have actually specific landing pages for each of their partners. So you can see here, this is Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss tells a story, really famous author. People listen to him. People go, okay, well, this guy knows, like he has a busy life schedule. I have a busy life schedule, and he's somebody that I listen to about how I can grow my business, do great things. And so he's someone that I'll listen to. I get this information. I can go on and buy it, right? This person, can you see now Cletus McFarland on the screen? Has it switched tabs?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so Cletus just starts off the video.
The video is sponsored by AG1, and it's drag racing season, so I'm going to be relying on AG1 more than usual. We're going to be on the road hitting gas stations.
So he's like, oh, okay, this is people on the road. So his fan base love him, by the way. Like if you look at some of the comments, guys are having a blast, something special about James. This is great seeing vehicle racing. Like these are racers and these are people who love it. And when you're a racer, like I've got some friends who have done this, you have to move around all the time. So he's built this story over periods of time. And in the video, you'll see him drinking AG1, carrying around his bottle, just nicely integrating into it to say, I'm not just showing this at the start and the front. What I'm also doing is now actually showing you that I use this day to day, and I'm just drinking it as we go through. Can you do that and build that story in an Instagram reel or TikTok? And this is where my bias comes in. Not really. And I think that these people are, look at the comments, and there's 6,315 of people just saying like all of these amazing stuff, like let's go, hell yeah, brother. Like these people will go and listen to what Cletus says and love him for the work that he does. So we've got racing car drivers down. One building Black Friday, right? So you've got you can see here, this is the most replayed part of the whole video is where you can get the AG1 deal. And you see what they've done up here because they know people are watching this on TV. So they're sat home watching TV and they're talking through how this is great for their product. And they have a QR, which is very smart because if they know that the audience is on TV, they can just pull out their phones. That's very smart. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the last one that I'll show is just is a different product. Is this is someone saying that they've tested this tracker for 18 months. They did a video 18 months prior. This has got 5,000 views, right? Think about 5,000 eyes watching a 18-minute video on your product. This is literally a walking advert. He talks about his review from like 7 weeks into it, and the comments, like, it's, remember, this is basically an ad for 18 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, you are a wonderful teacher. Thanks so much. Great video. I just watched your video. I purchased it. Oof, I would not recommend. Blimey. Okay, there we go. But you can see that was phenomenal. So
Yeah.
helpful. My doctor has me on zero carb. Your videos are so helpful. Da, 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 da. Like,
Yep.
people are really into it and they watch this whole video. And I just think you can't buy that on other platforms where people
Yeah.
will sit there and watch this 18-minute video to say, okay, like, tell me more about your product.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I think so that just to summarize what you said, I think the points you touched on are just the storytelling aspect of it is that you can tell a great story that requires more than 60 to 90 seconds of watch time to tell, because then you can build up a more authentic sort of sales pitch, so to speak. And it's just these different personas. Also, it's just like one was like a race car driver, and they're going to like, I was a construction person, something like that. So like different, if you have different personas for your product, you can target different types of people sharing their journeys of evolution. So it seems like for any product that's not like a quick selling, which is most products are not, like impulse buys, you need to educate. Like I saw somebody who was like beef organ supplements. I think that was Heart and Soil. If you need to educate people on what your thing does, then I think YouTube is a better platform to focus on, or at least needs to be in your stack of platforms, because you get that storytelling aspect. You get to target all these different personas and their own different unique stories that they can share, which is tough to do in a reel or a story context just because of the format. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, 100%. And if I think about the creators that I've got most affiliation to, it's because they either tell stories that I just enjoy and then I become like endeared to them, or the other side is like I just see myself as quite like them. So, there's a guy that does fantasy football tips, and I really have to beat my friend Barney. Like, I've got to beat him this year.
Yeah.
I missed out last
Yep.
year, so I watch his tips, but he also like talks about other random things that he does, and I buy them.
Yeah.
Because he's like just like me. He's a
Yeah.
guy sat there behind his computer doing something nerdy, and it's like, okay, like this is what I wanna do. And like they tell stories that make you feel like you're a part of that. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, I get that. So
Yeah.
I saw a beautiful one with AG1 that I didn't share there, but just a lady who does like gardening. She gets about 30,000 views on each video. Her son's sometimes integrated, not with the partner anymore, and has like quite a challenging time. And people just identify with the fact that she's having a challenging time trying to raise a son on her own and doing these different things, and still out there with her gardening, giving it a go. So like other people just trying to get by, how to do things. And it's not so much maybe like the gardening that they're bonded into, it's this experience. And she says,
Yeah.
like, I use AG1 because this helps me get through the day. Like I've got, this healthy drink here that helps me with my meals and make sure I'm taking all of the right things. And so, I really appreciate that they've reached out, that they've sponsored my channel. I'm so thankful. They give me another opportunity to earn. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, please let me buy from you.
Yeah. No,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but as you say, I think there are then challenges with YouTube, is that takes more planning and scripting time. So if you need to get something out in 2 to 3 days, like YouTube isn't your place for it. Whilst there are creators in potentially like tech spaces, and fintech especially, that the commission on a sale is quite high, that you might get an affiliate only, because what someone will do is they'll potentially walk through an entire tech stack, like how to make a YouTube channel, how to get 10,000 views. They'll walk you through the 10 tech stack, and if they've got 7 items on there, they'll promote those for free, basically saying this is what they do. But most of the time, because someone's putting their community and the work that they've done and the value that they bring to that audience, like partly at risk, but also giving you that opportunity to speak to them. The affiliate only deal doesn't really work on YouTube, and actually can be like quite a bad place to start from. And not always what you want to do anyway. Like sometimes you do just want to build like a bit of brand recognition in a certain area and get people to like be more familiar with your product and know that this problem that it solves exists, or something that you can do for them is different. And then when you speak to them, generally, and I speak to a lot of people about this, is that they will be stronger willed in the storytelling
Mm,
and what that should look like, and having the space to build the episode and build the message around the sponsorship is something that they'll take great pride in. Now, that
mm,
is an individual thing to people. I can't say that means that every YouTuber will be like that, but
mm,
generally they'll want more time, more space, and payment plus affiliate in order to do it. And that is frustrating sometimes, because
yeah.
sometimes it's taken us like more than 2 or 3 months to get a video out from
Mm,
someone.
mm,
And for us, they don't even have to, they sit behind a computer and show
mm,
what we're
mm.
doing.
Yeah.
So it can be painful sometimes. But I think that when you get it right, you build it over that long period of time with people that are deeply entrenched in a community,
Mm,
will buy from that person. And with the other part, you just have more longevity with it, right? It is harder to set up and get going, but once you get to it, you don't have to feel like you're running around as fast on the hamster wheel as
yeah.
it sometimes can feel like on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the other TikTok, Instagram, it's almost like a hamster wheel of constantly seeding people and then getting mass amounts of creators versus on YouTube, even if you have a dozen or 20 or so creators, that can create a huge movement around the brand, especially if you're just kicking off. So yeah, I like that. I think good time to dive into some of the tactics, right? I see some questions flowing in here about
Mhm.
should we do affiliate or seeding or how do you track? But let's kind of just break it down step by step, right? So why don't we start with what Channel Crawler does best is YouTube discovery. So what are your tips around what are the differences if somebody's just used to finding creators on Instagram and TikTok? What are the differences between that and finding creators on YouTube? Like, what are the metrics you look at? You also mentioned like some creators on YouTube tend to be more like mission aligned and they really care as opposed to other platforms. How do you, obviously brands love that. How do you find those sorts of creators? Any district, do you look at engagement rate, views? What metrics do you look for? How do you assess quality? Give us everything you have about YouTube discovery, and then we'll dive into offer and then tracking. So let's start with discovery first.
Okay, so in discovery, one of the most important metrics that I get people to look at is the views to subscriber ratio. So I am probably an outlier that I do think that follow account and subscribe account is an important metric that you want to look at,
Mm-hmm.
because what it does is it signals social proof to people. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the only one that you should look at, but especially if you're trying to market like a cool product or something in tech, or like a gadget of some kind. If you've got an influencer, and remember, people who watch YouTube and people who are sitting there in the audience aren't experts in terms of influence marketing. They're like, wow, 100,000 subscribers, that's loads, amazing, like well done to them.
Mm-hmm.
What they have to say about this gadget must be good, right? And as much as, we say people shouldn't think like that, they definitely do. But views to subscribers shows that they've been able to not just capture that audience, but also retain the audience as
Mm-hmm.
well, and do that on a consistent basis. Because as with all platforms, the algorithm, everybody is at the mercy at it, and sometimes views will go up and down. But especially as you're looking at, okay, like what's their view to subscriber ratio? Because what I want to do is get someone that in this partnership that we're going to do, and 3 to 5 is a starting point. You actually want to get your good influencers that are just constantly generating links and have long-term associations with you. Is really thinking about, okay, like, well, if they've retained that audience, that's a good piece as well. The second part I would have is look at engagement rate. Now we can't do sentiment analysis, but do you have, did I hear along the grapevine you have like super fans or something like that, and you can identify?
Yeah, we call
Yeah,
it diehard fans in Saral. Yes.
yeah. So honestly, I think that is an amazing feature that I'm fully jealous of, and like I'll just shout like that is really cool.
Thank you.
But you want to have like a good engagement rate to say that, because those comments, like, I don't think you should only go on that, because sometimes the comments can be quite like vicious. And the
Yeah.
fun thing to do on the platform is look at the highest engagement rates, because it's always like some sort of mad YouTube story that's gone on, and or somebody's stolen a channel or something like that, and it's a bit hectic. So not those ones, but you want some kind of engagement to say that people are commenting it, people are asking questions, they're
Yeah.
interested in what you've got. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got that views to subscriber ratio to make sure they've got an audience. You want people to make sure that they're engaging with it. And all the niches and all the like benchmarks are different across them.
Mhm.
So in our tool, what we kind of basically say to people to do is set all your standard things, like you want to have like this many views, this niche, this country, this language, etc. That's all by the by. But then start to layer in those other filters and just see, like, if you've got 100 influencers that meet your criteria, and then you put in this subscriber view to subscriber ratio, like how many does that cut off? Like go for the top 10, 20 within that out of 100. And then a similar thing with your engagement rates as well, like who are getting like a high amount of engagement, and then have a look in the comments as to why that is, or like look who the super who has the super fans and who's willing to like be raved and shout about. And that's where we always encourage people to start and look at with their campaigns, because there are other filters and they'll have different things that are important to different people. But I think if you've got an engaged audience and one that's consistently watching, that's great, because social proof of having like 85,000 subscribers is awesome. That's great, but it looks really bad if you then only get 5 to 10,000 views per video. People are like, just people don't know what it is, but something doesn't sit right within. They're like, okay, probably shouldn't for that person.
Yeah.
The other question that you asked about how we should treat it is that most YouTubers that are successful, so people are aware, they'll have the title in mind first of all, and they'll have a thumbnail that's ready for that, and then they'll design the video. So they don't do that at the end. They're always thinking about how can I package this so that it will get the most attention, and thinking about putting all of that package together before then doing the video. And that's because they want to get as many views as possible, and they'll have done research, or you might have done research as a brand on what are the search terms people are looking for, what are people interested, and what sort of thumbnails have done well that have been good that people have gone on and clicked through to go and watch the video. And so when you're working with somebody on that, going back to what we were talking about at the start, like think about how you're going to be found by other people. So one of them, like a new one, ChatGPT and other LLMs are showing YouTube videos as answers in the questions. So you want to start thinking about, I know it sounds crazy, but giving ChatGPT information about your brand, however you can, make sure your pages are crawlable, that it's getting that information, that you put it in there somehow for its algorithm. That's one. Another one is when you type in, how do I do X, Y, and Z? Your product might solve that problem. You might be X, Y, and Z, which is awesome. But they might not do that in YouTube. What they might do is just type it into Google, and then essentially like Google gives the AI summary, but also just below that, quite often it gives the videos and that really helpful point in the video that your product might then solve. So if you can do those things and start to think about that, and then when it comes back around, like this will be where the creator comes in. You don't want to tell them exactly what the title and the thumbnail should be, but they should be able to walk you through some sort of research process as to why the title and thumbnail should match and why they should get views. Because the other way is people will search in YouTube, and think about your own experience of it. You look at the thumbnail, you look at the title, and have a go, which one? Like picking up a book in the store is, you need someone to go and click through with that. And then the other side of it, and I'll just bring up a random piece here as well, is it also might appear on this right hand side here, there's all of these different videos that I might personally be interested in, but I can tell you, like, I'm interested in this one. Wow, how did someone go from $300 to 300 million? That's really interesting. I think the Diary of the CEO of it, like it or lump it, they're probably like the gold standard for how you get people to click and how you package things up. But this one, I don't know how it's got 3.7 million views, but it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't appeal to me. This certainly doesn't. I have no idea why this one's there, but you can see that like AI protected, super boring, 101 views, but maybe it's something to do with what I've searched recently. So you're trying to think of all the different places that people can find you. And lastly, it'll be how you push people to that video. Like, is there a way that you can help like push that, amplify that? And you might do that through ads and pushing their content as well. But so there's a different way to thinking about it, because there's so many ways you can be found through YouTube.
I like it. So work with creators who are intentional about the way they're packaging things on YouTube, because that matters a lot in terms of discoverability, which is absent on TikTok and Instagram for the most part. I know TikTok's a search engine, blah, 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 but YouTube's like the world's second largest search engine. So this stuff matters a lot more on YouTube. Plus, obviously, all of the other metrics, like make sure like followers matter more, because typically the way discovery happens on YouTube, for like from a consumer perspective, you're looking at, if I'm looking to buy something or I'm looking for reviews, I will actually value somebody with 1 million subscribers more than somebody with 15,000 subscribers, right? Just based on how the dynamics are. Versus on TikTok and Instagram, it's more content first. It's like who's able to sell me the most on content. Versus YouTube, it's more of this credibility and trust-based selling. So typically larger creators are better if you have the budget, of course. And then obviously if they are large, that's great, but make sure the views are there to back it up with the views to subscribers ratio, like you said. So that kind of summarizes the discovery element of YouTube. Do you think so? Did I miss anything in that?
Yeah, and what I just would say with that is I definitely don't want to say that micro creators can't convert. In fact, they're really good at it, but they convert their dedicated audience more often than not. Whereas it's sort of mid-sized creators that are going to be the ones that are actually like at the starting point for, okay, like this is a product I've never heard of. How am I then going to go and get people to look at it? And I've got actually, so there's a company called Charlie Oscar that do some really interesting insight in terms of their data, right? And this isn't just YouTube specific. Actually, I did talk to them and ask them about it, but I thought it was really relevant and it might come up at the right point. So I'm just going to share this now. Just looking at when the right time to use different types of creators are there. And I think this is also like what I was talking about with YouTube, with thinking about when is YouTube the right time for you. And I put that into, this is your business as usual pre-sale. You can see what they are. Macro creator is 20 to 100K, mid-size 100K to a million. And then this is like 1 million plus. And an ambassador is somebody that is just constantly using your product and walking through it. And so you can see when you use somebody matters. And so I think if you're looking for that business as usual side of things, like it sort of flips a little bit with YouTube. But this product launch is like you want people to be like seeing your product, seeing that it's out there, and YouTube can do that at a really big scale for you, like working with the likes of Cletus here, who's got 4 million subscribers, 2 million views on that 5 months. He's driving lots of people there and saying like, come on, like use this, do this. And so I definitely give Dan Wilson specifically a follow. I think he's great. He gives some really interesting insights. And I try and do as much
to bring him on the podcast soon. So that's
Can I come when he does? Yeah, he is really good. But I think like just trying to pick up things like that as well. But yeah, I think that links in, because often we think like I see a lot on LinkedIn, especially actually about YouTube influencers, not YouTube, macro influencers don't work, it's only micro, it's only this, and it depends on what you're trying to do. As you see from that screenshot I just said, if you're trying to get a mass audience to know about your product, actually huge creators are the ones that are going to create that noise for you. And as that noise trickles down, then you get your mid-size and your micro creators to go, okay, let's get people converting now. Let's like show them here. Let's get our discount codes. Let's get lots of people saying about this product. Like, oh, yeah, I heard it over there. Actually, yeah, I'll buy it and I'll tick into that.
I like it. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we've covered discovery. Let's do the other two parts, starting with the second one, which is the offer. So we now covered how is discovery different and so on. How do you think the offer that we make to creators as brands would differ from Instagram and TikTok when you go on YouTube? I guess like seeding wouldn't be as effective. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess seeding wouldn't be as effective. Affiliate would be maybe like a component instead of the main focus of the program. What else typically? I guess like it's more doing like a bunch of videos as opposed to just seeding and hoping that they post. Like you said initially, like 3 to 5 video packages typically do better. Tell us more about the offer and how that changes when you move from Instagram to YouTube.
Yeah, well, I'd say the one part that's consistent is that creators are really sporadic in what they attempt to charge, and that is super frustrating for us, and I think everybody probably on the call that's tried influencer marketing. Um, I think the piece that we always talk to people about is YouTube will unfortunately just more likely cost you more
Mm.
unless you can find the creators that other people don't. And so I actually think that most people, I know this sounds like odd, but for YouTube are still pretty much like searching within the platform or finding Instagrammers and TikTokers and then going into YouTube and like via that. But if
Mm.
you start with a YouTube first approach, so looking in your tool, for example, for people that have got a YouTube channel and then going through that, you'll probably actually just find that if they've only got a YouTube channel, less people are contacting them than the ones that have got all different types of
Yeah.
social medias. And while you might feel like that's slightly less effective for the campaign just through one influencer because you have to activate more, actually what's really good is that you can go to somebody that maybe has a little bit less noise in their inbox, is really focused on building a story and can help with the specific guide that the specific goals that you've got as a brand, as you know, as a storytelling piece. But the other part is you have to work out what you think each metric is worth to you from YouTube specifically and from a creator specifically.
Mhm.
So the first part to look at is the niche.
Mm.
So generally when it comes to a tech influencer versus a like comedy is really at the bottom. I don't know if anybody's looking to sponsor some comedy
Yeah.
like YouTubers, but they cost very, very little because they're funny, like that's nice, but we don't quite relate to comedians
Yeah.
in the same way. Whereas you've got a tech influencer, then they're like, okay, like clearly I know my stuff. I'm going
Mm.
to recommend this product, and I'm going to get eyeballs specifically on product walkthroughs and things like that.
Mm.
What you really want to think about is what's a view worth to you? What's a click worth to you? And if they
Mm.
convert, how much value is that? And
Mm.
based on the metrics that you see in their standard YouTube videos, you know, they get
Mm.
3,000, 5,000, like
Mm.
what is each of those worth to you? And a key piece of this is not every view is worth the same. And you need to look at, I would say two, you can look at loads of things, but two main things. What is the watch time of a creator? And by watch time, it's not just like how many minutes of people like watch as an average. It's like if they've got half an hour video, like what is the percentage that people are watching of that video? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Is there certain drop-off points?
Mm.
That kind of thing is really, really important for someone. And then that second part is understanding their ability to do what it is that you want them to do.
Mm.
So if it is click or convert, fine.
Mm.
You need to have people that are talking about the product in the comments and saying, yes, I believe you. If
Mm.
it's more brand awareness focused, then actually you're just starting to think, okay, well, will people like, you know, do people have a fond association with this person, and are we like happy that you know people know about our product and they can come and use it when they do? And if
Mm.
you think about those two things, because there's probably less metrics that you get versus some of the other platforms in terms of engagement, etc. But I think those two things will be your main thing. Are people watching it? And when they are watching it, like how bought into it are they? And there's a
Mm.
good example that can play this out. So if you think about how you yourselves watch YouTube and where you digest it, if you're watching a product walkthrough, you might be sat at the laptop going in detail as to how like that's going. If you're watching something in entertainment, you might be doing the washing up at the same time, wandering around the house. And if it's a podcast, I try and get a sense of how people are watching these things,
Yeah.
but it might be that they've got it on in the screen and sort of, you know, walking around, and they might come back if something's of interest. So
Yeah.
that type of content is really going to have an
Mm.
impact on how they're watching it as well. And
Mm.
so that gives you an impression of, okay, like, well, if they get this many views, this many clicks, this many conversions, like this is roughly what we think that campaign would be worth to us.
Mm.
And so therefore we'll price based on that. And if it's one that aims to convert, that you can give like a higher percentage for your affiliate and say, like, look, we know that you're focusing on this, and give them really good upside on that. Um, And if you put less pressure on that conversion and sell in a brand awareness campaign, actually we find that people tend to do that. Like that's where you get someone like that building site that I showed you where people are replaying it because
Yeah.
it's not all or nothing, right? It's not like you have to buy this, and if it comes across desperate, people are less likely to buy it. But if it's
Yeah.
like, I've been sponsored by them, I really like them, just letting you know
Yeah.
about it. There's a link, cool, and you do that over a few times, then a nice relaxed part like might get you some conversions, but actually you're just happy that people know about the brand and get some more information because all the different brands I saw, they will take like different education levels as well, right? So for us, we have to try and a lot of the time we have to educate people that there are tools that can solve this problem. Like one, do people realize they should be on YouTube? So we talk about that a lot. Do they know that there's tools that can like find YouTubers for them rather than spending ages searching manually, which loads of people still do?
Yeah.
Like we have to really get them through and say that there is something and you can use it. Like if you've never used one of these tools before, that can actually be quite like a high education level that's needed with it. But we all buy t-shirts. We know what the annoying things are with them. I hate like really poorly fitted ones. I've got a really long torso, so if I do this, my t-shirt rides. I'll do it on camera. It rides up, and so you're just trying to think like, okay, like how much education about the product is needed in there as well.
Yeah, I like it. Yep. Okay, so pricing. So talking about offer, just so I can summarize it for everyone. Depends on the niche. So obviously, if two ends of the spectrum, if you're working with like prank creators or comedy creators, then like it's going to be lower price. But again, the audience doesn't relate to them as much as they do with like a very niche specific creator. Like if you're a fitness supplement and you're sponsoring like a marathon runner, then sure, like they're going to be able to share very specifically how your product helps them as opposed to like a more generic creator. So like go by niche and tailor accordingly, and then just like with any budgeting with marketing in general, figure out what each view is worth to you and like what the typical conversion rate you expect from the creator. And you can ask them for stats as well for click-through rates in the description and so on, and then make a judgment call that way, like, hey, we have this much budget, we are allocating it, this is the creator to go with. And also make sure that what you said was very interesting was every view is not created equally, because one, like a view on like a prank channel or like a funny clips channel or a meme-ish channel is worth less than a view on, let's just say, like a very hyper tailored podcast about bio optimization or something like that, right? So like the second view is obviously much more valuable, so make sure you're paying more for it, and also tailor your offer to the context of the viewer, which was another very interesting thing you said, because podcasts, like somebody might be listening to a YouTube podcast video while they're in the gym, so they're unable to click on the video. The other video you shared, which was more construction with wide shots, like people are typically watching that on a big desktop or on a television, so then maybe they don't have they can't click on a television, so like that, it was very smart of AG1 to have the QR code on there. So make sure that you're looking at all of these things. So you might want to pay lesser for somebody who's like a long format podcast that is typically listened to on like more of an on the go context versus a video like a 15-minute long docu-series that's typically watched on our television. That's probably worth more. So like all of those factors considered for your pricing. I want to go to audience questions because we have like 10-ish more minutes. We typically end a few minutes before the top of the hour. Yeah, go on.
I'll just go with a couple of like quick things to summarize with that. I'm someone who thinks like building for the long term is like super important. I know that we have to like rush to get conversions at different points, but I think like if you're looking at a 2 to 3 year view out, like building on YouTube now is going to be super helpful.
Yep.
One of the criticisms that's of YouTube is it doesn't have the same reach, which is possibly true, but I think you're now going to see like a real change. So a big thing that's happening in YouTube is that a view on a long form you have to watch for like 30 seconds is pretty much known as like that's a view. Whereas on shorts, it's not been exactly known how long it takes for a view and what exactly counts at it. But now, as soon as somebody sees any kind of impression of it, it's going to count as a view, same way as it does on TikTok or Instagram, because it's flashed on someone's screen, that counts. And so I think you'll start to see that those like view counts go much higher. But going back to what I said before, is you're interested in the engaged views, which will be a new stat, and then how long people are actually watching for. Because one thing to get a view and trick somebody that, you know, this video is going to solve their problems or be interesting to them, but not watching straight away, like a problem there. The other part as well is I steal resources from people all the time. I love LinkedIn, I love research, and I love watching YouTube. Just going to put in a pricing matrix into the chat that one of your previous guests, Andrea Moyes, shared with me. She's one of the goats of influencer marketing. She's a YouTube first person as well, so whoop to her. But in here, you can just start to see some like guidelines of where you can start with those prices and just start to see that they are a little bit more expensive for YouTube. This massively, I can't stress enough, it massively varies depending on your niche, but it's a good starting point to go from. That if you can just look at like what's a TikTok or Instagram versus like a YouTube post on each of those, like what's the pricing difference for your sort of size of creator, those kind of things, then you can kind of get a match as well. If I'm paying an Instagram person on Instagram, this is what I should be paying a YouTuber. So it's super helpful, and she's great. And I can see lots of people have just dived into that as well. So I have distracted people for the questions, but that was it. They were the two bits I just wanted to finish with there.
No, lovely, amazing. I think Andrea's great. And all of her templates and sheets are something we keep recommending folks. So definitely visit that. By the way, are you all adding the engaged views metric into channel crawler?
Depends on how YouTube lets us see it. So we use YouTube's API. We've got a lot of credits through there, so we're able to get a lot of data from there. And there's frustrating parts with that. Like at the minute, they don't separate long form and short form views, and so there are ways to go and find that information. It's a technical challenge and stuff that we're working on at the minute, and so we don't know at the minute how they're going to separate, you know, an engaged view versus another view. My hope is that they do separate them through the YouTube API and make that easy for everyone else. But my fear is that they want to show that YouTubers have mass amount of views and huge reach, and therefore they won't. I think it's a bad decision, but I also don't own like the biggest and second biggest search engine in the world and the most successful social platform. So, you know, what do I know?
I think it is in their best interest to show the shortest impression as an impression, because that just means more views and like just metric gets inflated. So I have an interesting question from this is some of the I have a few interesting questions noted from the people who put them in while they were registering. I think Carolina at Stars and Honey asks, for a food/snack product like a collagen or a protein bar, do you recommend focusing on like a review style, more educational video, or more day in the life recipe? Here's what I had as a pre-workout, here's my protein bar. That sort of, I think the answer is going to be a mix of both. But then what do you think for like because we spoke about this, like the educational arc of a product, and then tech YouTubers definitely fall into that more review side of things, versus for maybe more of a sports supplements type of a product, you might want to do more of just like natural day in the life recipes type integrations. What's your recommendation? What have you seen with brands that are on channel crawler that do food, snack, health supplements type of products?
So I would say you do need to do both, which probably isn't a very helpful answer to what the person is asking. I think your main focus needs to be on, for this particular example, needs to be day in the life, and people that you think with the day in their life they're going to go and use this product. And then your separate part that I would get relatively it's difficult, because you don't want to do it too early before there's any traction, because people search, if like it doesn't perform well at first, like YouTube won't push it to other people. So I think like once you start to get a bit of traction on YouTube, then start to have your product reviews, but don't like overdo it with them. Just like find out what are people searching for on YouTube in terms of your product and looking for, and have the reviews there. And Snap Supplements, who are, I guess, sort of a competitor of AG1, they came to us and said, like, we just want to do what AG1 did. And so they've got, like, here's an example I'm just going to share on the screen now. Here's Jack's reviews, and like, here's a great example. Like, people are honestly going to find, like, honest, that he's called it an honest review. Like, here's Snap Supplements, like their booster, and here's 11,000 views on it with his number of subscribers, and you can buy it on Amazon. And it literally is just him reeling it off. But they have very few product reviews on there, which is why his has gone not viral, but just found a lot more people because it's like there's no other review on there. But you can see because it's like 2 minutes, there's not many comments, it's not overly engaged, it's just people have watched it. So I'd say even though it's got views, maybe it hasn't got the conversions, but that's something you have to measure.
I agree. And I think it's also by just on a broader marketing level, where is your brand struggling, right? Are you struggling because people know about the brand, but they don't buy it because they're skeptical? In that case, do push more review content. But if people don't know about the brand, nobody's going to worry about reviews because they don't know about you. So then focus on just natural integrations, day in the life, be seen first. And then when people are maybe having questions while buying, then go for the more review content. So like maybe do a more, take a step back from influencers and think more from a broader like marketing perspective, like where are we struggling? Where's the bottleneck? And then push that sort of content with YouTube. So
100%. And just to double with that, like it might be that your reviews are best placed like elsewhere. So if you're a local, I know no one here will be a local restaurant, but I think it's for local restaurants, like I've fully done on SEO, Yelp, like reviews from Trustpilot, those types of things. And so you could do a YouTube review, but is anybody actually going to YouTube to find like that restaurant down the road? And to different extents, all of the products that are being talked about on here, people will be going for some kind of review, like, is this product like actually any good? Like, is there something there? Versus like, will they just look on the website or ask friends or just, go like, it's so low cost, I'll just buy it. I think you should always have some, like, I think that product review in there is good, but the level that you invest in it depends on like how much people are actually searching for it and would need a review of your product.
Love it. I think Sarah here in the chat just asked a very interesting question. I know that there are some brands who are on Saral who are also in this regulated sort of little bit of a gray area type who are on this call. So I want to bring this up. Sarah asks, what are some recommendations for regulated products, given that YouTube tends to be more stricter on these regulated industries as compared to, let's say, somebody like a TikTok? Do you have any examples of brands that are maybe in, let's just take the CBD space or something like that, who are using channel crawler? Are there any specific, like YouTube specific regulations or restrictions that brands need to know of before they diversify into YouTube?
We have had some CBD brands come and use us before. My understanding is we didn't get too deep into it with them. Is they just have, it's just very tight regulations that they have to follow. And YouTube will take a zero tolerance to any video they think even encroaches on where that line is. So you might sponsor someone, it might go up, and then after a little while, YouTube might go, actually, we don't think that this meets the guidelines. And there's no right of appeal. It's not like you're going to go through some motion with them. So if like this is the line, I'd say way back from it, be like, okay, like we know this is the type of advertising that we can do, and this is where we're going to go to. And it really depends like by each industry. So I spoke to somebody that runs a huge marketing agency in pharmaceuticals recently, and they have two ways that they can promote their products. They can have very much disclosed advertisement with a human being, like, and say and it almost be like a script, like this is exactly what you can say. And as you can imagine, maybe it's not the best like storytelling, but they give them an exact brief of what they can say, of what they say and how they say it, because it's all regulated, etc. What he told me that they can do, which I found super interesting, blew my mind, is they can sponsor the influencer to do a video and just leave it at that. And he said, we have no control over what they do. We're not allowed to give them any brief. We're not allowed to tell them what to say about it. And they follow those guidelines strictly because like pharmaceutical fines are huge. It's mental. And so they just leave them to it. So it's kind of a bit more like roll the dice. So it might be that it's like that as well, that you just have to go, see what they come up with.
Yeah, tread carefully, basically.
So because you can say to people, do a video about our product, but you just like they could literally trash talk it, there'd be nothing you could do.
Okay, interesting. Well, Jake, I have a lot more questions and a lot more like nitty-gritty I want to dive into for YouTube, but we're at the top of the hour. We have 3 minutes to go, but I wanna leave something for part 2, which we'll hopefully do hopefully do soon. So I want to leave with a little bit of a cliffhanger. We want to talk about tracking. We want to talk about more like specific strategies and examples of brands who've made the pivot. But for now, I think this is a good place to pause on this. I think we've covered a lot of ground with just like the why of behind YouTube strategy, how brands can make the shift, what they should look for. I think we have given a lot of the basics, like here's what to look for discovery. Here are the types of offers that are working. And the rest of the instrumentation is the same. You email creators, you talk with them, you negotiate, you build a relationship. All the fundamentals still remain. It's just these nuances of the different platform that we've covered. And then I'd love to do a part two potentially in a few months to discuss some of these nitty-gritties. So I think good overall. If anyone here is interested in a YouTube specific, very good discovery platform, I know we do YouTube discovery on YouTube as well, but if you need something very YouTube specific with some of these more interesting metrics like the views to subscribers ratio and other things that Jake spoke of, definitely check out Channel Crawler. And then they're also giving 250 free YouTubers to anybody who signs up and just says they come from this webinar. So at least like worst case, just go check them out, take advantage of the offer. But Jake, there's anything like any ending notes you want to leave the squad here with, go on.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate the plug. We actually find that a lot of people either use us to get started, and then we'll move on to a platform like yours. Like we're quite lower cost. Packages start from $59, and you can go on there, find them, and then people, either use that in addition to a platform or just to get started. The other bit, if anybody does want to reach out, I'll drop my LinkedIn in the chat. So there was a question somewhere about that. So plug for the LinkedIn. Feel free to ask any questions there. And then my one lasting message is that if you try on YouTube, like the first campaign review should be 3 months after you've activated, and with the knowledge that that's really early to be doing that like check-in, and actually you'll probably see the value over 6 months. I know that's super hard, and even in my team, when we do these things, I've still had to bat people back and say, we know that people will take time to come to this video and for it to show its value in YouTube, and we've seen that over a period of time. That sometimes you bet on a YouTuber and it goes nowhere, and you're kind of waiting for something to happen and it doesn't. But there's lots more examples where you bet on someone, you think it's going to work, and it does, and you're always testing, iterating, getting ideas, and improving what you're doing. So,
no, I love it. I think we say that even for Instagram, we say, hey, give it at least 3 months, because brands want to just come on in 2 weeks. They want to see like virality or a lot of sales, and it just doesn't happen. So we say 3 months for Instagram and TikTok as well, because it's just like you're literally influencing people, you're changing behavior. Like this stuff is gonna take time, and YouTube, it makes sense, takes longer. So yeah.
Exactly. Like people sometimes don't even realize that there's a vertical for what you do. Like, the first time you come across a tool that solves a problem, like a little tech thing, you're like, oh, great, I didn't know this thing existed. Like, and then they're like, oh, is this the right tool for me? And then is it the right budget? And there's so much time that it takes to actually go into it. And what you want to do is just keep being there and keep nipping away. Say, you're the right one, you're the right one, you're the right one. And if you solve problems on YouTube, you'll find people who, you can steal from other people. Always pipeline of business, right? They've been educated there's a problem, and then they go, oh, this tool solves it, brilliant, or this product solves it. So there we go.
Correct. Alrighty. Love it how passionate and obsessed you are about YouTube. I feel like you could talk about it all day, and we'll definitely do a part 2. But Jake, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great having you on. Thank you for sharing all of this. And then everyone who's here, we'll share the recording with you. So in case you want to revisit something, you can watch the recording, and then definitely go drop Jake a follow or a DM on LinkedIn if you have follow-up questions. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks, Jake. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Cheers now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.